Hello there, and thank you for choosing to press play on this my testimony. It's the 26th of February, and here I am sitting in a small apartment in Split, which is in Croatia. So I guess this morning when I was praying, I felt the Holy Spirit say to me, why not record about a 10-minute version of what God has done in my life? And if I'm honest, when I was thinking about that, I was thinking, how on earth could I put all that into 10 minutes? And then, of course, God being God said, well, you leave that to me. So here I am, and hopefully it'll last about 10 minutes. Otherwise, God, you're in trouble. So look, I'm 35, which is sort of funny because on a good day, people think I'm 17, and on a bad day, people maybe think I'm 40. But what happened in my life is I grew up in Ireland, and I was quite academic and so good in school. And I remember once when I was doing my junior cert, that's the exam in Ireland you do when you're about 15, and I was getting these really good results, and one of my friends sat beside me and he said, Michael, you're so lucky, with the results you get, you could do anything. And as you reflected on that, or as I reflected on that, I sort of said to myself, well, that's sort of the problem. I could do anything, but I don't know what to do. So look, the years went by, and it turned out that I was very good at mathematics. It was probably my best subject in school. And so I went on after college to study maths in DCU, and afterwards I went on to qualify as an actuary. And so I qualified very young, and I have to admit that I put a lot of hard work into that. And so inspiration and perspiration, as they say. At 23, I found myself qualified as an actuary. For people who mightn't have heard about what an actuary is, it's one of these people that uses mathematics and statistics to calculate things like life insurance premiums, car insurance premiums, and yeah, I can already see you hate me now thinking of your car insurance bill. But anyway, that was kind of my job. And it all was around death and mortality tables and when people were going to die and how much they should pay and how long they would live and how much pensions they would get. And the funny thing was, we spoke more about death than anything else. And the one good thing about being an actuary is it was extremely well paid. So when I was maybe 25 or something, I had maybe 80,000 euro or something like that, I can't remember. But it was a really, really good job. The only problem is, I was miserable. And as I looked at it all, and even at that age, we were putting money aside for life insurance and for my own pension. And I was sort of thinking, I'm 25, and already I'm thinking of when I'm 60 in my retirement. And to be honest with you, it seemed like a death sentence. And usually people at that age start buying an apartment and doing stuff. And again, I said, whoa, if I buy an apartment, it's just like another life sentence in front of me. And so I became progressively more and more depressed and more disillusioned with my life and with the meaning of my life. And I guess ironically, I was a life insurance actuary. And while actuaries are supposed to be really, really smart, at least academically, one thing I reflected on is what I'd spent years and years studying about insurance and assurance and pensions and all that sort of stuff. Nobody had ever taught me about life and what was the meaning of life. Why are we putting insurance and assurance on life? Why do people want to stay alive when you talk to them, they seem miserable? And for that matter, why did I want to stay alive when my life was miserable? And so I guess I was asking all the questions that a lot of people were telling me I shouldn't ask. And God bless my mother, she was a very prayerful woman. And always when I was growing up, she taught me about Padre Pio, about the lives of the saints, and about the importance of God. And to be honest with you, as I grew up, I was progressively more and more disrespectful towards her, and kind of thought that all that prayer stuff and masses and rosaries was just for gullible people of a different generation. But around 23, 24, 25, those ages, I began to think, maybe Mom has got a point. And that was quite a disturbing thought. So at about 24, sometimes the ages aren't quite right, but I think it was about 24, I had, I guess, my first of many nervous breakdowns. And a nervous breakdown is quite a scary thing because you don't really know what's happening to you, you're not in control, and you don't know why. And so I found myself at that age, out of work, on sick leave, and I wasn't able to do the simplest of things. I wasn't able to eat, I wasn't able to walk in a shopping centre. I was claustrophobic. I was vomiting all day, every day. And sometimes at about 11 o'clock at night, I was able to eat a bite of toast. And of course then people come along and they say to you, come on Michael, life is not so bad, cheer up, you're an actuary. And I started thinking, that's the problem. I'm not an actuary. I don't care about actuary. In fact, I don't care about anything. And the more they told me that I should be happy because I had money and I had a car, the more I was sort of thinking, but surely there's more to life than a car, surely there's more to life than money. And so in a way it kind of made me more depressed. And so I went down the field of meeting psychologists, and over the next couple of years psychiatrists, and this one and that one. I remember once when I was in Dublin walking into a bookshop, Eason's, near the GPO, not sure if it's still there, and I remember seeing this section, the self-help section, and there were like 10 books on the secret to being happy and the truth and the truth. But the problem was there were 10 different books on the truth. And I said to myself, well, I might be sick, but I'm not stupid. Surely if there's a truth, there can only be one truth. And I want to know what it is, but I don't know who's telling me that truth. So I went to psychiatrists. My first experience meeting a psychiatrist was in County Louth. I took one look at him and I said, well, if that's all psychiatry has to offer, I think I'll go elsewhere. He seemed so miserable, so unhappy, and to be honest with you, he seemed more depressed than I was. And so somewhere in my heart I said, what about God? And when I mentioned anything to God, to psychiatrists or to psychologists or those type of people, they just didn't want to know. For them that was irrelevant, and tablets was their God. But something in my heart said, I don't think that there's anything wrong with me, it's just I don't know who I am. I haven't found my purpose in life, and I haven't found who I am. And so I guess I could equate my life at the time like a Rubik's Cube. You know, those cubes and all the different colours, and it was totally and completely messed up, and I wanted to get it right. I wanted to find what my calling in life was, what my purpose was. And I guess I said to myself, well, I don't have the answers. I might have had 6 A's in my leaving cert, I might be an actuary, I might have all this academic success. I don't have the answers to what makes my life work. I don't have the answers to who I am, to what I am. I don't have the answers to why I'm sick, and I don't know. And in some ways that was a really frightening thing to say, and in other ways it was a really liberating thing to say. And so I guess I cried out to God, and I was agonizingly close to suicide, because after 2 years of all sorts of different therapies and treatments in people, I became very, very disillusioned. And I was just like talking to different people all the time with different ideas. And so I said, look, okay, God, you made me, I believe you exist, and afterwards, well, if you made me, surely you could guide me. You could maybe just short circuit the whole lot of it and tell me what the meaning of my life is. Now that sounded, in my rational mind at least, like a good prayer, but it also sounded, to be honest, like a ridiculous prayer. Because I had heard in my life of Jesus talking to people like Padre Pio or Saint Bernadette having miracle experiences. But let me tell you, I was very, very, very far away from being Padre Pio or Saint Bernadette. At that stage of my life, I didn't go to Mass. I didn't really have any belief in Jesus or Our Lady. And besides believing the existence of a God or God, I didn't know who or what that God might look like or what he might be. So I made a prayer just to God, saying, God, please help me. Please don't let me commit suicide, because I don't want to die, but if I'm honest, I've lost the strength to live. And so one day, about 10 years ago, I miraculously had an experience of Jesus and Mary. And I was the first one to be absolutely flabbergasted, because there I was in Dublin, sitting in an apartment in Harold's Cross,